Good morning and welcome to the Red Ned Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and I'm going to be flying solo tonight here because, just after coming back from vacation and a little bit of an emergency that went on in my kitchen yesterday, I had absolutely no guests coming on lined up to go. I thought that I could guilt John into it because he backed out on me on the Red Ned Show, but he is actually going to be on the Daily Ignoramus coming up later on today, so we're going to go over and check him out as well after the show here. But before that, and well, with me being here alone, the news stops for absolutely nobody here, you guys, and we have got plenty of it to get to, so strap yourselves in and we are going to get right down to it here. But before we do get started, head on over and check out my friends over at the what's going to be formerly the Freedom Scoop Media Group. You can head on over there and check out all of the great people, including the wonderful Stephen Ignoramus, the Generational Gap, both of whom will be appearing together later on tonight. John is apparently over at Stephen's house, so that's going to be pretty cool. So we can go over there and check that out as well. You can also check out the Freckles and Brit Show, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the Already Conservative, and actually, that's it. So head on over there, check out all those programs, and watch us for something new coming up here in the very, very near future. So that's definitely going to be something. I was hoping to work on that a little bit more later on last night, but when the kitchen goes up in flames, and before anybody asks, everything is okay. Like, I wasn't hurt. I actually got a little bit of a burn on the top of my foot from putting the fire out, but it was all self-contained. There's some scorching on the wall, some scorching on the refrigerator, but I mean, nothing bad really happened up out of this. This was a warning shot. If this was something that came from the Lord, this was definitely a warning shot. There wasn't anything big that went on with that at all. So I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to the fact that this all came out. This could have been a lot worse. This really could have been. So I'm happy for that. But the news stopped for nobody, and we have got plenty of that to get to tonight. So checking in and going and having a look here. The CPAC happened over the weekend, and that was the big one. That was one of that's going to take up the majority of the show, and it took the majority of the morning show too when I came back this Monday as well. So that is definitely going to be something that we're going to be going on with and talking about. We'll talk about the straw poll that went with that, what that could possibly mean, what that means for the Democrats too, by the way, because they definitely reacted to that straw poll. They're saying that their reaction is just completely grassroots, but you can tell that that reaction was on the straw poll, so we'll talk about that. Plus, speeches from Kristi Noem and Lauren Boebert as well, so we'll talk about what's going on with that. Protests erupted in Cuba this week, which is interesting because I was told that socialism is supposed to be this massive thing that everybody wants to have. And looking over here, now it appears that some of this is reaction to the coronavirus and the vaccine availability, but there's still a massive backlash against the socialist government, the communist government of Cuba. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. The Biden admin has come out with a plan to do door-to-door vaccination. Isn't that special? Isn't that exciting? They're going to do door-to-door vaccination. Don't you want to go back and see that? I should probably bring the live chat up here so you guys can sit back and talk to each other too, by the way. But yes, the Biden admin is going to be doing some door-to-door vaccination. They're going to come back. They're going to talk with each other. Everybody's going to come back and show up at your door, and they don't see any sort of problem with this. So we'll talk a bit about that, some of the issues that arise with that, and some of the other things that happen with that. So yes, now we will go on and see that. Let's see. What else do we have here? NBC came out with an article this week talking about QAnon and how they're trying to move into the situation of going into school boards and how evil that is. And it's something I've been talking about for a long time as well, but I haven't been talking about it in quite the negative light that we can see from that. But we will go and check out what's going on with that and what that means. So we'll go and check that out. Finally, before we close the show, the San Francisco Gay Choir put out a video, and it sparked a lot of backlash. So we're actually going to sit down and we're going to listen to the song. We're going to watch the video. We're going to break this down a little bit. I don't have as much of a doom and gloom situation to this as a lot of the other people in the world have to this. But we are going to go check that out. We're going to go back and watch this. We're going to see what is going on with that. Break some of this down, some of the death threats that came from this, and the unlikely news that came out of 4chan from this as well. So we'll go and check that out. I don't have any surprise stupidity for this, but that's the case, and that's something we have to look at as we go into this. But that's going to be it for the Red Net Show tonight. Thanks for checking us out over on YouTube and over on DLive, Twitch, no more Periscope, but my Facebook page and Trovo as well. Thanks for going on and checking out all of that over there. And if you are... well, make sure you get some of your chats up into the live chat as well, because unlike the morning show, we will be taking live chat in between topics. So we'll take your questions, we'll take your comments, and we'll see what it is that you have to say for this. But if you can't catch us live, you're just catching up right now, and you got to jump back off. You can also go and catch us back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Go check us out on either one of those platforms, or you can take us up on the audios if I ever get back up with that. And we're going to be talking a little bit about what's happening with the audio platform as well. There's one of the articles I have in the lightning round that talks about the audio platform, so we'll go over that as well. We'll see what's going on with that, and we'll talk a bit about that. All right. Without further ado, oh, by the way, I do also want to talk real quick about this before we get started. The details haven't been set yet, but I will have a guest host, I'm hoping next week, talking to, I believe it is a gubernatorial candidate. Let me go and look here. Gubernatorial candidate for Oklahoma, and a libertarian one as well. And I love, because we don't sit down and talk about campaigns, and I'm not going to be talking about this woman's campaign, but we're going to sit down and I'm going to see where she comes from on a policy standpoint to whatever the news is of the week next week. So it's going to be interesting. I love to sit down and do these interviews, and this is one of the things that I hope to do more when campaign season comes around, especially if Elaine is out doing campaign work again, is to sit down and have some of these candidates on my show, so we can talk to them about the news of the week and see what their policy plans are, rather than just sitting down and listening to their canned speeches. So definitely we will look into that, and we'll come back and talk about it. I'm fairly excited for that. So look forward to that. Look forward to seeing that. And we'll go and check that out here. But let's get into some of the news and see what is going on around the world. And without a guest on, we'll actually just look and see what's on my screen. It'll be like a higher production value version of Contemporary. But let's see what we've got going on. Starting out with Kamala Harris, by the way. That's going to be our first thing that we're going to talk about here today. So, Kamala Harris made the news this week because apparently she doesn't know, A, that Kinko's was bought out by FedEx 18 years ago, but she's got a very, very low opinion about what rural America actually thinks and what they have the capability of. Let's listen to what Vice President Harris has to say.
One of those compromises that you'd support? I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are. Of course, people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are.
So, and that's interesting for me to hear, and it's interesting to see what Kamala Harris actually thinks about rural America. Now, I live in rural America, and I do understand, and I remember what it was like to have to go an hour to go get groceries at one of the major chain stores. Like, I could go into town to the little grocery store. Mine was actually across the river in Minnesota, but there was another one over in the town I went to high school in as well. So going to get provision supplies, it was a little bit more expensive to go to the small town grocery stores, or we could take the run up an hour away to one of the bigger cities that was within an hour reach of it. One of those was the Twin Cities, but we could go make an hour drive in to go and check out the big grocery store, save some money, possibly get a little bit more paid in taxes, but still save some money to go supply up big time. I remember what it's like to go an hour away to go for provisions, or even to go like buy video games. The only used video game store in the region was in the big city that I talked about, that I'm actually going to stick around and say, you know what, no, I'm just going to say it. It was going up to Eau Claire. That was the only used video game store that was up there. Or, you know, to go to the Walmart or something like that. That was all an hour away. But regardless of that, We weren't going an hour to go to school. We weren't going an hour to go to any grocery store. And there were a ton of small businesses, bars, restaurants, the grocery store, my school, plenty of other places where we could go back and do a photocopy. And, as Styx pointed out, and I listened to his video too earlier on today talking about the same thing. You also have, all of us have our smartphone here where we can sit back and we can take a photo of just about anything sitting in front of us at this point. I mean, this is not the year 2000. This is not 1999. This is 2021, where half the time, most of us don't even have a home computer anymore, but we've got this with us everywhere. And it's more, so those of us who do still have a laptop, this is more powerful than the laptop that I used to run Contemporary on and the Red Net Show. So, yeah, don't tell me that we don't have scanning technology. And if you really need to print it as a photocopy, you can go right down to the local library. I did that last Monday when I went to go get my fishing license so I could take my fishing trip. Walked right down there, paid 10 cents to the lady, and got the copy of my fishing license and went fishing last week. So there is that. Newsweek has some backlash to this as well. So reading from Newsweek, Kamala Harris slammed for insulting claims rural communities can't photocopy IDs. Vice President Kamala Harris was criticized on Twitter after suggesting it may be almost impossible for people living in rural communities to make photocopies of their IDs. The Vice President made the remarks during an interview with Soledad O'Brien for BET News. Harris told O'Brien that she asked President Biden to lead his administration's efforts to protect the voting rights because the issue is so fundamental. Asked if she would possibly support compromising on voter ID laws, Harris replied, "I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean." And of course, we could pop this and listen to the whole interview, but that's going to be a half an hour, and we got 2 hours to get through all of our stuff here. Because in some people's minds, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID and send it in to prove who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities who don't. There's no Kinkos, there's no Office Max near them. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, regardless, there's not an Office Max, there's not a Kinko's, but especially in these smaller communities, like in the little tiny town that I went to high school in, everybody knows everybody. You could just walk in and say, "Hey, Pete. Oh, hey, Ed. Hey, you need me to copy something for you? All right, you buy me beer next time at the bar." And it's that fucking simple. So to come out here and say that this is an impossible thing, that's Kamala Harris being out of touch with the world. All right, from CNN, Texas man who waited over 6 hours last Super Tuesday to vote now faces illegal voting charges. A man who told CNN he waited a little bit over 6 hours at a polling center in Houston to participate in Super Tuesday last year was arrested and charged this week with 2 counts of illegal voting. According to a June 24th indictment from a Texas AG's office, Hervis Earl Rogers, 62, voted in the November 6, 2018 general and special elections and the March 3, 2020 Democratic primary election, despite being on felony parole for a 25-year sentence for burglary because he was on felony parole. He was ineligible to vote under Texas law, according to the Texas Attorney General's office. He was previously convicted of felony burglary charges in 1989 and 1995, according to the indictment. Rogers could face up to 40 years in prison for the 2 felony charges of illegal voting. A second-degree felony in Texas, the person commits the offense if they knowingly vote or attempt to vote in an election in which they know they're eligible. But don't worry, illegal voting never ever happened. So, sorry guys, this must be a false story because that's what they tell me is that there is no such thing. Illegal voting never happens. All right, some good news. Coming to us from Fox Business, Virgin Galactics Richard Branson reaches space in test flight, part of furious space tourism race. Richard Branson reached space on a test flight for Virgin Galactic before gliding back to Earth and touching down safely on Sunday, the latest salvo in the burgeoning space tourism business led by high-profile billionaires. The Virgin Group founder launched Sunday with 3 company employees flying 53 miles above the Earth in a test mission before kicking off commercial space flights next year. Branson, who earned his pilot's license, tested the astronaut cabin experience. A photo released by the company showed Branson and 3 others in zero gravity. After landing, Branson tweeted that space was more magical than I ever imagined. Well, Dude, I hate it, and I talked about this morning. Now, it's cool that you're going up there, that you're going up 53 miles above the Earth's surface, something that we once thought was impossible. But at 53 miles, you're really not in space. I mean, we've sent a man to the moon. We're talking about sending rovers and shit to Mars. It's really not that impressive to go 53 miles up. But, I mean, if that's what you're going to come out and say is impressive, then, well, that's impressive. So, good on him, I guess. And it is kind of cool that they're actually going to be coming up and doing a commercial because, the more flights we take up and the more we learn from every flight, the further and further away from the Earth we can get, and we can go out and start looking for other raw resources within our solar system, and possibly even going outside of our solar system, maybe at some time in our lifetimes. Maybe. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it would definitely be interesting to come back and see. I mean, I've read the equations. The equations check out. It's just we don't really seem to have an energy source capable of doing this. But regardless, the free market wins again. And, of course, the breadliners come back out and say, oh, well, these billionaires could be solving world hunger. Instead, they're trying to go off to space. Well, they're building an industry that employs more people. So that's something else that they could be doing, too. And if you confiscate all the wealth from the upper 1%, all of it, 100%, it is only enough to fund Medicare for a year. So just keep that in mind. All right. This one I found this one from Contemporary this past week here, from WBRZ2, Snake Search Over at Mall of Louisiana. Kara the Python is found safe. Out of Baton Rouge, after 2 days of searching the Mall of Louisiana for a python that escaped from the mall's Blue Zoo Aquarium, the snake was finally discovered in a crawl space early Thursday morning. The python, whose name is Kara, was transported to the LSU School of Veterinary Medicine for a health check. She was released from the vet school's care Thursday afternoon. So this was, and when this article was first read, of course, it was still at the evacuation stage, so everybody was panicking about the fact that this python was out and swirling around the mall. But my first question is, who has a python exhibit at a mall? That's the first thing I've got to ask, because that is something that definitely makes me all kinds of confused. But regardless, still, I don't know. This is craziness to me. But apparently, the snake is found, brought back into captivity. They could open the mall back up. And I mean, pythons are no joke, dude. I can tell you that. And I mean, even as somebody who didn't take care of them, just knowing the fact that they were in that room across from me for the entire 2 years that I lived in that hellhole apartment with my ex-girlfriend, I tell you, it changes the way you look at the world when you see the girl you want to go and wrap your arms around with a 20-foot python around her neck. Totally normal, like she doesn't even care. These things are no joke, but yeah, everything is well and good. It looks like Kara is back in, all in good health, and they are back up and going again. All right, from the BBC, audio editor Audacity denies spyware accusation. From Zoe Kleinman. The open source free tool with 100 million users worldwide is popular with podcast and music editors. They do this bold thing here on the BBC, and I always forget to do the original paragraph. Audio edit software Audacity has denied accusations. Its new privacy policy has transformed it into possible spyware. The open source free tool with 100 million users worldwide is popular with podcast and music editors. Its updated policy says data can be shared with its Russian-based infrastructure company, WSM, as well as regional law enforcement. Audacity says the only data it exchanges with its users is software updates and error reports. But since the updated policy was published last week, there have been angry calls from concerned users to uninstall the product or revert to an older version. And technology website FOSSPost described the most recent version as possible spyware. Okay. Now, I can understand, because I went back and I looked through the terms of service, because I have Audacity. And yes, I can see where all of this can be taken. And I'm very glad, by the way, that a lot more people are reading the terms of service. Because so many people just didn't do that. They never did it. They should be doing it. You should sit down and read the terms of service to everything that you do. There's actually a book that I want to sit down and read, and I'm going to probably grab it on Kindle because I just finished the book series I was working on. And I'll either go back to the Clancy novel that I was reading before that I need to finish, or I'll just go into that one. But the book is called Terms of Use, and it basically is somebody who agreed to a terms of use, didn't know what was in the goddamn thing, and I think he wound up being enslaved. That's the premise of the story. But I will definitely be going back and looking into that a little bit more. But yeah, always read your terms of use. But the other side of this and the panic that goes along with this is the fact that, and they point out with this, and Sewell pointed this out because he was the one that read this article initially over on Contemporary, was the fact that, yes, this is an open source tool, which means that anybody can go find the source code for this, use the source code, write their own tools for Audacity, or write a new version of Audacity, because you can see all the code that's in this. If you're going to do something where you're going to do spyware against your customer, somebody else is going to take that open source code and build your own competitor right off your own goddamn code. So it would not be in Audacity's best interest to go back and do something like this, because they can easily screw themselves in the process. It's the same with OBS, and it's the same with Lightworks Video Editor. It's the same with a lot of things. Open source it's a big thing. But yeah, that's one of the things that we'll see here. From the New York Post, fears arise that lambda COVID-19 variant from Peru may be resistant to vaccines. It's time, you guys. It's time to go back and lock down again, because it's going to happen. The lambda variant is going to come, and you can't get vaccinated from it. Let's read what the New York Post has to say. Scientists fear that a highly contagious new COVID-19 variant that is ravaging Peru may be resistant to vaccines. The lambda mutation, or C37, appears to have emerged in Peru last August and is being blamed for the country having the highest pandemic death rate in the world. Well, that's a good way to become extinct if you kill off your entire host reservoir, but that'll be evolution for you. The concerning strain has since spread to around 30 countries, mostly in Latin America, but also as far as the UK, which has recorded at least 8 cases, according to government figures. There are known cases of the lambda strain in the U.S., according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. In Peru, lambda has accounted for 81% of new infections tested for variants since April, according to the WHO. Now, an interest, and this doesn't just go with the lambda variant, this does go along with the Delta variant, the Delta Plus variant, both of which are supposedly resistant to vaccines. And the fact that, and once again, I'll cite Styx for this, he pointed out the fact that all these other countries are starting to relax all their mask mandates around the time that these more contagious variants are starting to show up around the world. Which tells me that, we're going to go to another lockdown here at some point, because they're going to look at this and they're going to say, oh my God, we ended the lockdowns too soon. It was too soon. It was too early. No, put your mask on. So that's something to watch here. And yeah, it's interesting that all these other variants are, this is going to be used to wrest power for a long, long time to come. So keep that in mind as we go forward. Another one that Sewell brought up that I thought was interesting here, Subway's making the biggest menu change in its history. Out of CNN, after years of declining sales, Subway's hoping to reintroduce itself to customers and convince them to give its sandwiches a shot. Next week, Subway restaurants across the country will unveil an updated menu designed to improve items across the board. The chain says the move is the biggest menu change in its history. The revamp includes new recipes for the chain's Italian and multigrain breads, as well as new sandwich toppings. The chain is also tweaking items already on the menu. Subway's bacon, for example, will now be hickory smoked and its turkey and ham sliced more thinly. It's also bringing back past items like rotisserie-style chicken and roast beef. To encourage customers to try new ingredients, thousands of restaurants plan to give away up to 1 million free sandwiches between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. on July 13th. The chain is also updating the look of its app and partnering with DoorDash to let customers order delivery directly from the Subway app. Which tells me that they're going to try to become a Jimmy John's competitor off of this. Looking at this, and it just, I've had problems with Subway. I like Subway. I have it like once every 3 years. Except I had it last year. I'm considering going back and getting another cold cook combo. I love the cold cook combo from Subway. However, it gave me food poisoning once, so I kind of shy away from going to Subway whenever I can. I am going to look into this with the new menu option, but, when we're starting to do revamps and everything, the weight loss thing is over. And all the Subway stuff is done on bread. The Subway diet fad is over. And a lot of people did really, really well on the Subway diet too, by the way. But, now everybody's doing keto, so it's all just meat and vegetables. And Subway's kind of falling by the wayside. So they're trying to do some sort of gimmick to come back out here and try to pull this up. And Jimmy John's, and I mean, if you're in the Madison Metro, and I don't spend money in Dane County, that's one of the few things that I feel bad about, is because they stopped being outside of the Madison Metro. Like, there used to be a Milios in Janesville, but they closed it. The commie Coof took it out. But man, does Milios have good sandwiches. I just can't bring myself to spend money in Dane County for it. But man, oh man, oh man, oh man, does Milios have good sandwiches. But they're trying to be competitive to some of these. And Milios delivers everywhere that they can go. That's one of their big key points. And of course, Jimmy John's, that's their big thing, is they got fast talking it on the radio. And okay, I got your sandwich, and you ordered your sandwich, and Jimmy John's, freaky fast delivery. That's their big gimmick. So we'll see if that comes back out of here, if this pulls Subway back up out of the gutter. I'm probably going to go over probably this week, especially with there being no hood on my stove right now. I don't really want to cook on it right now. I grabbed some frozen pizzas to get me through the week here, but maybe I'll head on over to Subway and see what it is that they have. So we'll see what goes on with that. One here from the Los Angeles Times. U.S. Capitol Police to open California office following January 6th attack. The U.S. Capitol Police on Tuesday announced that the agency was opening a regional field office in California and Florida to investigate threats to members of Congress in the wake of the January 6th Selfie Fest. Threats against members of Congress have increased in recent years. As of Tuesday, total threats so far in 2021 were double what they were at this point a year ago, according to the Capitol Police. Home to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, and other prominent members of Congress, California gives law enforcement agency a western base to investigate claims of threats made against members. The state is also home to the nation's largest congressional delegation. Okay, cool. You have no jurisdiction there. And I don't know who thought this is actually a good idea. We have an FBI, by the way, that is tasked for doing crimes of interstate commerce, which would include threatening a member of Congress from the great state of California or the great state of Florida. This is the Capitol overstretching its bounds. Yes, Secret Service. That's another one too, Quest Fanning. Yeah, we have an FBI and a Secret Service to take care of all this stuff. The Capitol Police is law enforcement for the U.S. Capitol building. It's not even law enforcement for Washington, D.C. They still have D.C. Metro Police on top of all this. They are to cover the federal lands that are specifically used for government function. Not the District of Columbia, not Virginia, not Maryland, not Florida, and definitely not California. We have other agencies for this. But we go on to look at the federal government, and Congress especially, using up a police force that they control. And people look at this like there's no problem with this. Some good news for you here from Fox News. Shut up, autoplay. Fuck you. Isn't that Eric July? Fuck those hoe-ass roads. Tucson to ignore Arizona's Second Amendment sanctuary law. Officials in the city of Tucson plan to ignore Arizona's new Second Amendment sanctuary law that bars state and local governments from enforcing certain federal gun regulations, possibly setting up a court fight as a growing number of cities and counties in the U.S. declare themselves similar firearms havens. The move by Democratic Mayor Regina Romero and the City Council again puts Tucson and Republican-led states at odds over how to regulate gun sales and use. The southern Arizona city has long tried to enforce gun laws stricter than the states, including mandating background checks for guns purchased on city property and destroying seized firearms. Over the years, those measures have been challenged after the Republican-controlled legislature enacted laws barring the actions. This is interesting because this does come down to the point of federalism. And one of the things that I like to look at with this is, what is this going to do to people who willingly live in Tucson? Are they going to move out? Are they going to go to like Phoenix or out in the country or something? Because, yes, of course, if if the state government wants to make, or I'm sorry, the locality government wants to make a law that's more stringent than the state government, that should be on them to do so. And the people can decide and vote with their feet if they want to do so, if they want to deal with that bullshit or not. That should be something that they absolutely have the right to do. So I think it's Tucson's right to do that. I think it's stupid for them to do that. But by federalism, they've got every right to do it. So if the people of Tucson want to do that, they can either get up and move out and take their tax dollars with them, or vote all these corrupt politicians that want to take the guns away from them out. Or these corrupt politicians that want to allow the federal government in to do what Arizona says they have no standing to do. Vote these people out. Get rid of them. They don't serve you. They hate you. Get rid of them. They're telling you who they are. Believe them. All right, just a couple more here, then we'll do some live chat and head on over to the big topics of the day here. From CNN, Trump allied lawmaker floats Pennsylvania audit plan that Democrats slam as political ploy. Dude, it's all a political ploy at this point. No matter what it is, it's coming from both sides, and it's political ploy either direction. Audit fever is catching on as Republican lawmakers in Pennsylvania announced Wednesday that he is pushing for a so-called forensic audit of the 2020 election. Doug Mastriano said he plans to launch a forensic investigation into the election results and procedures surrounding the 2020 general election and the 2021 primary. There's nothing to fear if there's nothing to hide. Those who have concerns about the integrity of 2020 and 2021 election will have those concerns investigated and hopefully addressed, Mastriano wrote. Those who think that there was zero voter fraud, no irregularities, and the elections were conducted perfectly will have the chance to be vindicated. The move comes as the number of Republican leaders across the country have continued to question the outcomes of the 2020 election and cling to unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud. They have seized on the election fraud narrative as a campaign plank for a fundraising tool, as well as a way to curry favor with the former President Trump, who remains steadfast in his erroneous belief that he was robbed of victory in the 2020 presidential election, in which there was no fraud and Joe Biden is the most popular president in history, honk honk, wink wink. I mean, one of the things that looks with that, and really honestly, if there's nothing to hide, then that's fine. And if this goes through, then we can sit back and point and laugh and say, haha, you went through this and you didn't find anything. But really, honestly, let's go look. And if there's a weakness, let's find a way to shore that all back up, to get this all set and prepped for the 2022 election. Why not go back and look in and get some of this stuff done and taken care of? Unless you have a certain reason that you don't want to do it. In other news here, election controversies continue in Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. So Georgia is also possibly going to be coming back and doing an audit as well. A Republican state senator in Pennsylvania is pushing for an audit of the state's 2020 election and 2021 primary. Yep, we saw that already. But we also go on with Georgia. That's from Mastriano. That's all the Pennsylvania stuff. Arizona Republicans are continuing their audit of over 2.1 million ballots. Election controversies also continue in Georgia. A federal judge decided not to block provisions in the state's new election law. Ahead of 2 runoff elections next week, the provisions require that absentee ballots requests be made 11 days before the election and also include several rules for election observers. Activists say the provisions would make it basically impossible to request a ballot before a runoff and could criminalize normal election observation activities, according to the Associated Press. You mean like putting plywood up in the windows of the election counting facility? So we're going to start to see more of this stuff. And I mean, none of this is going to change. Nothing is going to change the outcome of the 2020 election. Honk, honk. Fairest election ever. Joe Biden's the most popular president in history. But if we can find the weaknesses and make sure that they don't get exploited in 2022 and 2024, why wouldn't you want to do that? Unless, once again, you had a specific agenda, which would never happen. And I mean, that specific agenda is in a video game. Honk, honk. Nothing bad happened in 2020 or will happen in 2024. The only election that could possibly have been rigged would have been the 2016 election. Honk, honk. All right, from the New York Post. Plant-based meat, not nutritionally the same as real meat. Study. Plant-based meat alternatives may look and cook like real meat, but scientists say the nutritional components may not be the same. No way! You get different amino acids from animals than plants? I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. Shocked. Researchers at Duke compared 36 food samples, 18 of widely known plant-based meat alternatives to 18 grass-fed ground beef options from a ranch in Idaho. For each sample, they measured the number of metabolites, small molecules that make up the nutrients in foods. The study, published in the journal Scientific Reports, discovered that beef contained 22 metabolites that the plant-based substitutes did not have. The plant-based meat, meanwhile, contained 31 metabolites that the meat did not include. Researchers found that the largest disparities were in vitamins, amino acids, and types of saturated and unsaturated fatty acids found in both food products. Among other variables, alternative meat markets mimic the look, taste, and texture of meat with iron-carrying molecules from soy, among other ingredients. Yes, pump a bunch more soy into the next generation. From other ingredients like beets and berries, and ramp up the protein with soy, peas, and other plant-based ingredients. Additionally, some alternative meat products contain vitamins such as B12 to create a similar nutritional profile to real meat. Here's the reality. You must have a properly balanced diet of plants, some carbohydrates, even though, I did keto for a year. I still understand the necessity and the importance of carbohydrates. Some carbohydrates for quick energy, balance about when you have them throughout the day. And plants. And yes, you'll get some protein from some of your plants. Peanuts, beans, peas, apparently, beets. Yes, you'll get some proteins and some amino acids from that. But you're not going to get the same iron-carrying amino acids as you're going to get from your big piece of red meat, or the same omega fatty acids as you're going to get from fish, or the same nutrients and amino acids you're going to get from chicken. It's just the plants don't have the necessity to support that level of iron. It just happens that way. Our bodies were designed to process in a certain way. And yes, there are people who choose not to do that. And yes, they will go, but trying to force us all back down onto this vegetarian diet isn't going to work for most people. And as always, you should consult your doctor before making a major change in your diet. Like going vegan or vegetarian. Always consult your doctor. All right, last one here, then we'll do some live chat for you guys. From WGN9 on Chicago, North Dakota sues Biden admin over oil gas lease sale suspension. North Dakota has sued the Biden admin over its suspension of new oil and gas leases on federal land and water, saying the move will cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars in lost revenue. President Biden shut down oil and gas lease sales from the nation's public lands and waters in his first days in office, citing worries about climate change. The lawsuit filed on Wednesday in federal district court in Bismarck claims the move is unlawful. It seeks to force the U.S. Bureau of Land Management to reschedule 2 lease sales that already have been canceled and block the agency from revoking others in the future. And as I mentioned this morning, we have precedent of this successfully being overturned in court. Which is good, because it needs to be overturned. It really does. Now, yes, the federal government has some federal land leases to this, but all in all, they're also robbing revenue from these states that depend on these industries. And while we're at it, let's go back and have a look at whether or not it's legal or constitutional for the Biden admin to shut down the Dakota Access Pipeline and the lease on that. We might see some of these gas prices come back down. We might see some of this, and really, honestly, between what happened in Louisiana when this got blocked and what could happen in North Dakota, between the federal land leases, and possibly if somebody from the DAPL comes out and says, okay, well, we want to come back and have a look at this again, that could be the best thing for the Biden admin. Because if gas prices stay down the way that they were, then that's going to curb off some of the inflation and some of the price hikes that are going to come under his administration. Yes, they're going to continue to try to print money, but as long as the fuel costs stay down, it's not going to make it go away, but it's going to stay up and curb some of that back off. So this could be handing a victory to the Biden admin on a golden platter, on a silver platter. So we will see what happens with this. Hopefully this does something good for the American people, because they definitely need it right now. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying here, and then we will get into some CPAC news. probably going to get an autoplay going on here and just, no, it's not going to happen. Cool. Let's see. What are you guys doing? Who's here? What are you guys doing today? Quest Fanning. Now I see it. Yeah, I didn't have the live chat up before. Let me see if there was anything up above that before, because I've got my Twitch up here, but I don't know how far it's going to go. Maybe. Quest is over here on Twitch. Hello. I don't think the chats are wired together. Yeah, I didn't have the restream robot up here, so... And then, yeah, now he sees it. Quest, is anyone else on here? Ron Helton is over here on the YouTube side. Thank you, Ron Helton. Vivo Chabut, comrade. Yeah, we'll talk about that later on. Ron Helton says, Jay, set myself on fire, Edgar. Good evening. Hello, Quest. Yeah, we had an accident. It happens. Share it on the tweet alerts. Let's go have a look, because I know I retweeted that back out as well. All right. Anyway, let's see. What else do we have here? Quest Fanning says impossible. Kind of makes me think of The Princess Bride and the word inconceivable. I've never seen that movie, so that's, I never watch movies, so of course I've never seen that movie. Ron Helton says, yep, launching oneself 53 miles up is not that impressive. I do it every day. Well, what you do with the stuff that you grow behind your shed is different than a guy actually going up in a rocket ship. 53 miles up. And I'm not saying that it's not impressive. It's just, he's not going to space. He's still within the Earth's atmosphere. But we learn a little bit more each time. So, Ron, International Man of Mystery. Thank you, Quest. Branson is hawking more ticket sales. He's going to clean up on this ride. Oh, yeah. Quest Fanny says, hey, girl, want to pet my python? Ron Helt says, something about snakes wrapped around a woman just seems creepy to me. Yeah. Audacity knows Ed's inseam measurements. My guess would be 34. No, it's 32. My inseam is 32. My waist is 34, but my inseam is 32. Ron Helton says, yeah, not a fan of TOS of giving one's firstborn to them. Yep, Seawall is here with the Armored Half-Track. Welcome on in. Yeah, Seawall, you were just mentioned. Real tuna. Yes, that stupid fucking story. And when Seawall was reading that, because I was listening and my parents were in the room with me when we were listening to that, my mom brought up that same stupid fucking story where they said, oh, it's not real tuna in there. Well, it actually might be real tuna. It's just, it's been cooked, canned, processed, frozen, thawed, and then DNA tested afterwards. And mixed with mayo on top of that too. So we may never know what's actually in the tuna. Unless we actually go in and follow, I'm guessing, Chicken of the Sea, or whatever tuna the Cisco man brings. We may never know what that tuna is. Did Ed just dox himself? Everybody knows that I live close to Janesville, so. Do not have pork if they offer it again. Secret Service, FBI, yeah, 2 different agencies, law enforcement agencies. See what it says, and if they send the threat via mail, you have the Postal Service cops. Yeah, I don't know why the fuck there is a Postal Service police force. I've actually seen the postal police vehicles by the post office at Grand Central. Why? Why does that department need to have its own law enforcement agency? I don't understand. Just let the FBI handle it. Ron Helton says, fairest election ever, more above board than Battle of Athens, Tennessee. Then he says, to hell with the damn doctors. Most failed us during the scandemic. Educate yourself, decide yourself. Yeah, that too. You haven't seen the classic. Princess Bride is a winner. I also just saw The Karate Kid for the first time this year. Keep that in mind. And now I'm actually kind of excited because when I went to go double check to make sure nobody was using the Netflix, because I haven't watched Netflix in forever, even though I still have it and I pay for it, because my sister uses it and my parents use it. I noticed that all 3 Karate Kid movies are on Netflix, which I've seen the first one, but now I can go see actually all 4, because the next Karate Kid is on there too, which I've actually already watched on Netflix. The one with Hilary Swank, that was way overdone and way fucking cheesy. But I can see part 2 and part 3 now on Netflix. So that might be coming up in the near future. Let's see. Is it tuna? The truth is out there. Quest Fanning says 34 waist with the 32 inseam. Exactly mine too. I thought Ed was a little taller than me. I am 5'11". Unless I'm wearing cowboy boots, then I'm 6 feet. Seawall says postal cops predate the Secret Service and the FBI. Why? I don't understand the reasoning behind that or the mentality behind any of that. I really don't. Ron Helton says, why does the IRS need to carry weapons? Answer, because taxation is theft. Duh. Seawall says, I am 6'2". Well, I mean, I've only seen you from this far up, so that could be neither confirmed nor denied for me. I actually didn't think you were that tall. Just from what I've seen for you. I thought you were a little bit shorter than me. But regardless, let's go talk about the Donald, shall we? And CPAC that happened over the weekend here, which we talked a little bit about this before, and I'll be using mostly the same articles that I did this morning, but we'll be going through them, I think, probably a little bit quicker here. But starting with Fox News this morning, Trump easily wins CPAC 2024 GOP presidential nomination straw poll. Former President Trump easily won the 2024 GOP presidential nomination poll at the CPAC gathering this weekend in Texas. Trump, who's repeatedly flirted with making another presidential run in 2024 to try and return to the White House, captured 70% of ballots cast in the anonymous straw poll, according to results announced by CPAC on Sunday afternoon. That's a boost from the 55% support he won in the hypothetical 2024 Republican primary matchup straw poll at the CPAC Orlando in late February. I want to thank each and every one of you for your incredible support, the best support, Trump said as he gave Dallas's event's keynote address minutes later. Yeah, we'll be talking about that a little bit later. But I want to talk just a bit about this because, I mean, when they had CPAC in Florida, DeSantis blew Trump out of the water. And I said that I think this is probably going to be a fluke just because it was Florida at the time. I mean, it's good for DeSantis because I know that I get wary of DeSantis because he is doing a lot more top-down stuff, and I am wary of him taking the Oval Orifice at this point. But I know he's well-liked, and I know that the establishment is going to check him at every chance that they can. So it's going to be another stalemated government, which I do like that idea as well. He's going to try to rule by executive order too. And he's going to get fucking curb stomped. And with any luck, the Supreme Court's going to take more power back away from the executive branch. That's the most positive outcome for me. Have the Supreme Court take more power away from the executive branch. But now we have CPAC in Texas with Trump on the ticket. And then they did another poll with Trump not on the ticket. But with Trump on the ticket, he got 70%. But with the follow-up question of if Trump is not on the ticket, DeSantis walked away with 68%. So, I mean, we kind of know who's going to be the candidate of the people, no matter how they do CPAC and where they do it from. We already know what this is going to be. And I think that actually spooked the Democrats at this point. And I watched and I looked at it, and I watched it again throughout the day. They're still holding arrest Trump now up to the top, and they're also calling on Merrick Garland to be fired, which the neocon base is not going to, or I'm sorry, the neoliberal, I mean, it's all the same anyway, but the neoliberal base is not going to get rid of Merrick Garland no matter what, because he is their golden child. He was the one that was supposed to be anointed by the Messiah, Barack Obama. He was supposed to be anointed as the angel of justice for the Supreme Court by Messiah Barack Obama. So the neoliberal base is never going to get rid of Merrick Garland, but the progressives want to see Garland eliminated and replaced by somebody who is going to, quote, arrest Trump now. So with that, I think that this whole poll thing, I think that spooked them because, you know, they keep coming out and saying that, Trump's going to get arrested now. It's just a matter of time because we see what happened and his employee Weisselman is arrested and he's going to get arrested for the Trump organization and it all fits and this is it. And it all reads like they're terrified. Every single tweet that I've read from that number one trend that was from a progressive leftist of arrest Trump now reads as they're terrified. Because I don't think they can fix a second election. They're going to try. They are absolutely going to try, but I don't think they can do it. So I see that coming back up out of this. But, now we can sit back and listen to some of the Trump speech as well. So let's grab some of this here. The conservative Reed tweets out, in a matter of mere months, Joe Biden has brought our country to the brink of ruin. Let's grab a clip of this speech. And I like the way that they're doing this up here, too, because probably to go back and do the whole speech would probably ding copyright somewhere. But because, A, it's all on Twitter, and Twitter is fair use, and B, because it's cut up so small, we can grab little bits and pieces of this keynote speech and talk about them as we go. But let's see what this first piece is here.
Who would have thought this could have happened? Even Bernie Sanders is saying, I never thought this could happen. He's mild by comparison. In a matter of mere months, Joe Biden has brought our country to the brink of ruin. Right here in Texas, we are the epicenter of a border and migration crisis unlike anything anyone has ever seen before in the history of our country. At the same time, they have totally obliterated your energy industry. I told you. Who would have thought this could have happened? Even Bernie Sanders is saying, I never thought this could happen. He's mild by comparison. In a matter of mere months, Joe Biden has brought our country to the brink of ruin. Right here in...
And I mean, where's the lie in all the leftoids who mysteriously, after their messiah Bernie Sanders got kicked out, all jumped up behind Joe Biden? That's not AstroTurf or grassroots or anything else like that. I mean, they'll even come out and say, oh, well, we're so much better off right now because no more mean tweets. But a lot of them are starting to get buyer's remorse. Let's grab another piece of this here coming out of Newsbusters. Former President Trump at CPAC. One poll showed that at least 10% of Biden's voters would have switched their vote if they'd known about Joe and Hunter's scandals. Except there are no scandals because everything was completely above board in 2016.
Anything negative for Biden or the radical left Democrats, they just suppressed. In the most horrendous example, the oldest newspaper in America, and one of my favorites, it's a great one, the New York Post, broke one of the biggest scandals ever to emerge in a presidential election, providing extraordinarily detailed evidence of the corruption of Joe Biden and where's Hunter Biden? You know where he is? He's painting right now for $500,000 apiece. Where's Hunter? His highest and best use, I can tell you, is in a studio to paint. Even though he's never painted before, he set a record for the highest price for a person that never painted a picture before. Never did a painting before. Then, without any basis whatsoever, Twitter and Facebook banned the New York Post's account of this terrible story. After the election, one poll showed that at least 10% of Joe Biden's voters would have switched their vote if they had known about Joe and Hunter Biden scandals, enough to flip the results of numerous states.
And, I mean, that in and of itself interests me by itself. I mean, how do you not know? That story was everywhere. That story was absolutely everywhere. It was covered top to bottom, front and back, by people who hated the New York Post for putting it out, first and foremost, and then by any independent... I mean, if you scroll through Facebook, you see your kooky conservative uncle at least puts the story out. And then what do? Do you take the mainstream media narrative and say, oh, well, no, it was kooky, and it's the New York Post. They're a Trump-supporting organization now. Country's oldest newspaper, by the way. Or do you go back and actually do some investigation for this? And that's half the problem with this country, is they just take what CNN tells them as fucking gospel. I mean, how do I end the show? Never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. I can tell you what I saw with the Hunter Biden story coming out of the New York Post, but it is on you to go back and fact check me and verify that. Go up, find competing sources from the Daily Wire, from MSDNC, from CNN, from The Blaze, from the Gateway Pundit, from Vox. Go find competing sources and tell me what it is that they have in common, because that's usually where they overlap is the truth. Or do you just take what CNN has to say and run with that shit? I don't, and I don't even really... I mean, those of you who watch Contemporary know that it's very rare. Out of the 30 articles that I put up every morning, that maybe 10% of them come from right-wing sources. I'm very particular about where I get my news from for Contemporary, and thusly subsequently for the Rednet Show. I'm very, very particular about that, because I don't want to take all my news from one side. I want to go to what CNN, what MSDNC, what NBC, what NPR, well, NPR just because I love using this voice over here. I want to see what all of them are saying and pick them apart. And it's the same with the Daily Wire. I pick them apart when I use it for a source just as much. Always go and double check your content creator's source. We all have another tweet here. Trump slams Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg for election meddling. Zuckerberg.
In New York City, crime is out of control. It's at record levels, with nobody being prosecuted, except, of course, innocent Republicans are being prosecuted. The Democrats know their policies on crime are so unpopular, so radical, so crazy. They are now trying to pretend they never led the defund the police movement in the first place. This information. We never said defund the police. You know who did it? The Republicans did it. That's what they do. It's called disinformation.
I cracked up when I heard that the first time this morning. We didn't say defund the police. Republicans said it. Because they wouldn't vote for a bill with a $30 billion rider to fund local police. And it wasn't even for local police. It was optional funding that could have been used by localities to fund local police. A $1.2 trillion progressive wish list with one little rider for the police. And because Republicans didn't vote for all $1.2 trillion of the progressive wish list, well, they're the ones who really wanted to fund the police. What a bunch of fucking bullshit. All right, and of course, we have to end this with Make America Great Again.
With your help, your devotion, your brilliance, and your drive, we will carry forward the torch of American liberty. We will lead the conservative movement and the Republican Party back to victory, and it will be a greater victory than this party has ever had. We will take back the House. We will take back the Senate. And then, after witnessing all that has gone wrong in our country in such a short period of time, with our borders, with our economy, with crime, we will take back that glorious White House that sits so majestically in our nation's capital. Beautiful White House, that's small letters, White House, that beautiful White House. And it is the most beautiful house of all. Working together, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, let's cut that before we get a copyright hit. So, I mean, that was the keynote speech, and I mean, the guy knows how to rile a crowd up. That's what he did. He's a showman. That's what he's always been. Do I disagree with some of the stuff that he's done? Oh, hell yes. But I understand why he does it and what all this comes from. So, Kristi Noem got into some of the news from this as well. Kristi Noem criticizes GOP governors who enacted COVID-19 mandates while accusing some of rewriting their history. So this interested me a lot off of this because, well, we'll talk just a bit about... Oh, do I have the other article? I thought I had... No, apparently I don't. We'll have to talk about that just a bit because I saw this the sign up there and that reminded me. I guess I didn't grab the one for the cards that were being put around. But anyway, Kristi Noem made the speech criticizing the GOP governors who kept their lockdowns going, which the ones who kept them going, I can understand that. Now, Kristi Noem was in a unique position because she never did any sort of lockdown, and I think most every other state in the union did at least a partial lockdown for a few weeks. I think Florida was the next one down where they just said, okay, this has been a month. Fuck this. Nothing is changing here and we're losing some of our GDP. So they went back and got back up. But at the beginning, and I've said this, back in March, we didn't know what this was or where this was going to go. By about June or July, we kind of had an idea what was going on and what this meant. But back in March, we had no idea. So I always understood the 2 weeks to flatten the curve because it seemed like the disease ran its course in a couple weeks, which meant 14 days of quarantine if you got it. And stay away because for 2 weeks we could probably eradicate many strains of this. Now, when this started going on to a month, 2 months, 3 months, then we started to realize how comfortable government officials got to control, and some of us started also to realize that this was going to start having massive effects on the economy, especially if we needed to continue to get bailouts from the government to the people at the tune of billions of dollars and trillions of dollars at the time. So with that, and with watching this off of this, it's, we come back and we see this out here, and yeah, no one can sit back in our 2020 hindsight and say, well, yeah, I did the right thing at the time, but, once again, we didn't know. And now, yeah, we can sit down and praise DeSantis, who opened back up after a month, and other governors, Wyoming, North Dakota. No, I think North Dakota stayed closed for a little while yet off of this, but Idaho. Various other governments that just said, okay, no more mandates after X amount of time. No more this, no more that. We can sit back and praise them for going on with this. But I mean, like DeWine, who was pushing the vaccine lottery for this and continuing to have mask mandates up until just a month or so ago. Now, and I can understand, like Tony Evers in this state, who got his cock slapped numerous times, trying to keep the mandate in place long after his mandate and his constitutional powers expired, continuing to try to go back and do more of this. But I can understand him because he's a puppet of the teachers union. But yeah, these Republican governors out here, some of them deserve the slap around, but to come back and on hindsight and say, oh, see, I was right, so everybody else is wrong. No, we didn't know, Kristi Noem. But also looking at, and let me actually bring that tab back. Nah, we'll leave that off here for now. The other one that came out of CPAC was, it had to do with Caitlyn Jenner. So, transphobic abuse hurled at Caitlyn Jenner at CPAC conference called a sick freak and dead named. Like, that is the worst thing that's possible in the world. From Aliyah Shawib. And I've thought about this from the morning. Now, I don't really care how you pee or who you fuck. I really don't. If you can, and especially as a politician, if you can get people to vote for you, then that's fine. But if you're stepping into public office, especially as a Republican, you have to expect a certain amount of criticism coming back in. And I think that Caitlyn Jenner is a lot more thick-skinned than what this article comes back and gives her credit for. But Caitlyn Jenner was hit with transphobic abuse while attending the CPAC. A heckler filmed himself repeatedly dead-naming her and calling her a sick freak. The former reality TV stars running for California's recall election against Gavin Newsom. Let's see what this looked like.
All right, ready?
Hey, Bruce. Bruce,
Here we go.
what do you think about the stuff that they're teaching in schools regarding the LGBTQ? About Jesus Christ, Bruce. Don't forget about Jesus. Look at that sick freak.
Yeah, and especially after being a reality TV star, next to the fucking Kardashians on top of all this, I'm sure that Bruce or Caitlyn or whatever the fuck you want to call him or her, I'm sure that that person has a thicker skin than you think about. And again, running for office as a Republican, as a former reality TV star. In California, no less. I don't think this is as big of a story as like Business Insider and Yahoo News wants you to think it is, but regardless, I mean, the dude who's doing the filming, he's kind of a douchebag as well. I'm not going to come out and say, oh, you were right to dead name, because that was a fucking douchebag move. But regardless, that's what we see for that. Fauci got into the news from all this here because he says it's horrifying that the crowd was cheering anti-vaccination remarks. Anthony Fauci on Sunday said he was horrified to hear the crowd at a conservative gathering this weekend cheering anti-vax comments. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
Conservative political conference, CPAC, is going on this weekend. I want to play for you a clip of one of the speakers from that event yesterday.
They were hoping, the government was hoping, that they could sort of sucker 90% of the population into getting vaccinated, and it isn't happening, right? There's a younger people.
I'm going to cut him off right there because he just goes on to just say things that are not true about the vaccine. But what I wanted to get your reaction to is the crowd cheering when this gentleman talks about how the government was not able to achieve a 90% vaccine goal. The crowd cheers. As a public health official, what's your reaction when you hear that?
It's horrifying. I mean, they're cheering about someone saying that it's a good thing for people not to try and save their lives. I mean, if you just unpack that for a second, Jake, it's almost frightening to say, hey, guess what? We don't want you to do something to save your life. Yay! Everybody starts screaming and clapping. I just don't get that. I mean, I don't think that anybody who's thinking clearly can get that. What is that all about? I don't understand that, Jake.
Conservative.
Well, and I can tell you what a lot of that is about as well. I mean, you've been trained for this your entire life. The homeschoolers, they put out weird kids, and if we don't put the kids into our public schools, then they won't get socialized, and they'll grow up to be weird, and they won't have any social skills, which, you know, back in the 90s into the 2000s, that actually I could see the case in some of the people that I knew that were homeschooled. And for the most part, it was, well, the people who were eager for homeschool at the time were more the people who were being bullied, pushed around in school, and just wanted to get out of the environment. And some of them needed to be out of the environment. I do recognize some people that were doing that. But it's the same thing with anti-vax. You've been trained for this your entire life. Anybody who says, oh, I don't want to get this vaccine, or I don't want to get that vaccine, and there's the colloidal silver or mercury or whatever the fuck it is, it's causing autism. You have been trained your entire life to think that anybody who doesn't want to get a vaccine is weird, hyper-religious, nut-jobby, outside of society, that kind of situation off of this. This is not new information that you have going on here. None of this is new. They trained you right from the beginning. Oh, well, if you don't want to come out and do exactly what they tell you to, then you're weird. And that's what we're trying to see for this. It's not anti-vax. It's anti-this vax. Because you came in and started saying the mandatory word. Now, I do actually question the fact on what the plan was for coming out to try to make this mandatory, because I think a lot of the people, once they started seeing the left go out to try to make things mandatory, I know I definitely looked back and I paused for a second, because I was all excited. I said, okay, well, this is the free market at work. They're putting a product out to market, and if it goes good, I'll wait like a year to see if people are dropping fucking dead from it, and if they're not, which kind of looks like they are at this point. But, I mean, if they're not dropping fucking dead from this, then maybe I'll go and consider doing it too, because the free market is cool. I love the free market. And I think a lot of the Trump people had that same sentiment when they came out and they realized that this was going to come out under the Trump administration, and the free market got out of the way, and like, oh, we can praise Trump for this. This is cool. And then they started saying mandatory vaccination and vaccine passports, which sounds a lot like a yellow star system, and creating a second class of citizen. And people came back, started looking back and saying, well, no thanks. If it's going to be mandatory, then I don't want to do it. I think that was planned so that the Biden admin can come out and A, credibly take credit for the vaccine, because it's just the evil Trumpers that don't want to get the vaccine. And then they can also come out and make their second class a citizen, the anti-vaxxers. So, I think there's reasoning for that, but I mean, they're just going to come out and say, if you don't want to get this one vaccine, which most of us are vaccinated for everything else, if you don't want to get this one vaccine, then you're anti-vax, and you're one of those weird out on the fringe society people. All right, we'll take some live chat here in just a second, but we're going to do one more here and talk about Lauren Boebert before we go. Lauren Boebert says, we're here to tell the government we don't want your benefits, we don't want your welfare. In this very, very deceptively edited and cut video from a much longer speech.
We're here to tell government we don't want your benefits, we don't want your welfare. Don't come knocking on my door with your Fauci outie. You leave us the hell alone.
Now, obviously, she got more than an 18-minute speech in this. That's quite obvious at this point. But, of course, that one little clip out there is enough to come out and make Lauren Boebert as the enemy. And AOC and Lauren Boebert went back and forth on this for quite a while. The New York Post slams Rep. Boebert for calling to an end for extra jobless benefits at CPAC. And yeah, that absolutely happened, because the people that are supporting Lauren Boebert want to go back to work. They want their jobs opened up. They want the benefits to end so they can start getting the help back in the restaurants. And I look at this at some of the smaller town stuff too, like where my parents live. To go back and say, okay, well, they've got signs up in the window saying, please be patient with us because the government's paying people more to sit at home on welfare and unemployment benefits than they're making in the workforce. So we can't find anybody to come in and work for us. It's not necessarily that some of the people don't want to get the unemployment benefits. A lot of them do. That's the reason we're sitting in the mess that we're in, and the reason we're starting to see some of the stagnating numbers. And the Biden admin hasn't created jobs. They just got the government out of the way for other jobs. I mean, that's something we need to accept off of this. But we don't want to have the government benefits. We want to make the stuff ourselves. Most of us want to go back to work every day. And the majority of Americans do go back to work every day. That's why our unemployment rate is in these single digits range. Because if it really was the fact that nobody was going to work, then yeah, I mean, it would be in the double digits, probably be closer to 50% if that was the actual case. But it's a lot of these low income service jobs out there where people got more off their unemployment benefits because they could qualify for the max benefits because we're in the middle of an emergency pandemic. And they just decided it wasn't worth it to go out, get in their crappy car, go down to the gas station or the restaurant, pick up the apron or the smock, get a deal with bad customers. I mean, we've all seen clerks. We all know how it goes. And then go home exhausted for next to no pay because the profit margins in these businesses are extremely slim. But regardless, that's what we see coming back up out of this. So let's see what you guys are saying here. And then we'll go back in and we'll go check out the Cuba situation. All right, where were we? Sewell said he was 6'2". I still don't believe that. That's so weird. But of course, there again, I've also never seen him below his shoulders either. So let's see. Get wrecked, manlet. Quest Banning says, I like Jackie Chan, so I enjoyed the new Karate Kid. But it wasn't karate. That was the other thing. It was a kung fu movie, not a karate movie. But I haven't seen that one either. I remember, because I had never seen the Karate Kid. And I knew that Cobra Kai was based on the Karate Kid. So I asked, because the Already Conservative was talking about it on his show, which I listened back to on the other day. So of course I didn't put the live chat in. And I texted him the next day, because I've got the RRC's number. I texted him the other day and I said, so if I want to watch Cobra Kai, because, well, I'm going to be completely honest, I like Peyton List and she's in it. If I want to watch Cobra Kai and I've never seen the Karate Kid, will I understand what's going on? And he said, no, you got to see the movie first. And then I get a text message a couple of minutes later that said, wait, you've never seen the Karate Kid? I said, okay, well, I'll go, and I bought it on Amazon that next day, and I watched it, and I said, But I texted him back. I said, well, no, I've never seen it. But, I mean, will it be acceptable if I watch the new one with Will Smith's kid in it? And I got the Trump cockeyed face back at it. But I did, and I enjoyed the movie. I'm kind of surprised it took me so long to see it. Anyway. And yeah, I haven't seen the new one with Will Smith's kid. I think I'll go through part 2 and part 3 before I do that. Quest says, I'm 5'10", I'm just leggy. Garland is even worse than Kavanaugh on Fourth Amendment. Yeah, there really wasn't a good choice for that. And of course, Gorsuch's seat was robbed from Merrick Garland. Fanning says, I've admitted it before that I voted for Hillary, but I was pretty happy that we ended up with Gorsuch instead of Garland. I've always cared about the Constitution, even before I realized how pernicious big government had become. And coming out of New York, I understand that, and I completely accept the fact that it happened. I mean, I can't fault you for that. I came from union household, and I voted Democrat up until Barack. Up until I saw Barack Obama's primary agenda. It wasn't the agenda he put through, but the fact that the primary agenda looked like that and the people wanted it, I said, I can't vote for a Democrat anymore. And a lot of people called me a racist because, well, you're just not voting for him because you don't like him because he's black. No. I am not voting for him because I think that he's going to destroy the U.S. economy based on what's in his primary agenda. Or at least he's going to convince politicians in the future to do so as well. But, I mean, yeah, there's no way. Well, also consider when I was able to vote in my first election, which I turned 18 in 2002, which meant that my first presidential run was a fucking Bush. And I think we all know at this point how I feel about the fucking Bushes. I don't think I have to explain that to anybody. I think everybody knows that. Apparently Twitch is hanging. It doesn't look like that on my monitor, but okay. If anybody else is having a problem with Twitch, put it in the chat so we can see what's going on with that. Let's switch the scene up while I'm sitting here reading live chat. Once it was clear that it wasn't the plague and the lockdowns didn't work, continuing was evil. That was about 3 months in, like June 2020. Yeah, we all knew that by June. In March, we didn't know what this was, but by June, we had a general idea that, but people like DeWine were still staying closed because of political pressure to do so. Abbott was another one. Some of the other ones across the Southwest, I think Ducey kept a lot of this lockdown for a little while. So, I mean, yeah, it wasn't just Noam, and it wasn't just like DeWine. There were others that went along with that. The dead naming. Rolling the eyes. Sergeant Peterson says, I will save my own life. I don't need government. Welcome in, Sergeant Peterson. Thanks for coming and checking out the show. I do hope you stick back around. I know I haven't seen you in here for quite a while, but I hope you'll stick back around here. Hopefully in a few weeks we'll get the pretty girl back after her brother moves back out. All right. Let's keep going, shall we? Somebody go and ping Elaine and see if she'll come and hang out in the chat with us. Aimless Gamer's here too. Hi, Aimless Gamer. Welcome on in. Thanks for coming and hanging out. All right, let's go in. What else do we got to talk about here? Not this one. What else? Usually I'm doing this with my co-hosts, so we're going to talk about Cuba for a little bit. So let's get this back up. First, we're actually going to watch some of the scenes from the protests here. So let's get some volume up here. Let's have a listen to what they're doing over there. But yes, Cuba erupted into chaos this week, protesting against communism, the lack of ability to get the jab, first and foremost, the lack of healthcare that they have, and lack of food as the commie coup takes its toll on Cuba. Now, I do understand that some of what they're going with is sanctions from the U.S. And I understand the fact that Trump did, on an America First basis, put sanctions back on Cuba and an embargo back on Cuba to keep businesses from going down there and taking advantage of the low wages from the communist country. I do understand that. But, well, let's see what some of the protests look like here. All right, and then another one here. I got to address the Great Wazoo over here on Twitch and just remind you that there is no evidence of election fraud in the 2020 election. The 2020 election is the freest and fairest election in history. Everything was above board. Joe Biden is the most popular president in U.S. history, garnering even more votes than Barack Obama. Honk honk, wink wink. Nothing bad happened. Don't kick me off YouTube, Susan. Honk honk, wink wink. Most popular president ever. Honk honk. Nothing bad happened. And I do want to point that out that yes, we are over on YouTube too, and that's a part of the reason that we can't sit back and we can't say that because they'll throw you off of YouTube for that. Honk honk. Biden is the most popular president in history. Honk. All right, looking into what's happening over in Cuba here, we're no longer afraid. Thousands of Cubans protest against the government. So, and yeah, I mean, it's all the communism. And I love the fact that Bernie Sanders, in the midst of all this going on, telling us how much everybody in the world loves communism and how much we need to stay with communism forever, how much everybody loves this. He's strangely silent on what's happening down here in Cuba. Thousands of Cubans took to the streets across the country on Sunday in an unusual protest in which civilians shouted out slogans against the communist government, such as, "We want freedom and we are no longer afraid." The demonstrations came at a time when Cuba faces the worst economic crisis since the fall of the Soviet Union, an increase in repression against the political opponents, and strained health systems during a critical stage of the pandemic. Health authorities reported that almost 7,000 new cases and 47 deaths, a record for infections and deaths on the Caribbean island of just over 11 million people. I do find it funny and strange a little bit, too, that we're getting so much commie fucking coof that's hitting into Cuba, which is, for the most part, isolated, as far as I understood. So, I mean, if it's this transmissible, it's still getting up and it's getting over to Cuba, which, for the most part, keeps itself. They don't let a lot of people into Cuba. I do between topics. Let's see. In Miami, hundreds of people gathered in the Little Havana neighborhood in solidarity with the growing protests in Cuba. "I know my family in Cuba is struggling. People are dying. It's terrible," Miami resident Christian Guzman told NBC station WTVJ. And, I mean, yeah, we look back at this, and it really is. They tell us how popular communism is and how much white college students tell you how much they love communism and how much, if you just try a little bit of communism, you're going to like it. But don't worry, what's happening in Cuba, that's not real communism. Except more people are alive in Cuba because they have a longer life expectancy than the U.S. But, I mean, get your story straight. When people rebel back against it because they can't stand what's going on, well, that's not real communism. Real communism has never been tried. Well, no, it really is real communism here. And we've got some other video that goes along with this as well. We see the special brigade members and the black berets coming out to patrol. And I do believe it was the Daily Wire article that actually had video of these guys coming back. Yeah, and they're sitting out here. They're ready to go take down the opposition. Now, of course, Fox News is coming out and telling us, "Shut up, you. Nobody likes autoplay here." But Fox News is coming out and telling us here that on top of this, the Cuban president has urged the faithful citizens to come out and take care of the problem for the unfaithful, the people who are sitting back and being afraid and protesting against the government. You know, be good little collaborators. Go tell your jackboot thugs and go take care of the problem yourself. So, and not only is it that he wants the black berets, the people with the guns, to take this down in a nation that gun ownership is largely not allowed. And we'll watch some of the video of that in just a second here. But on top of all that, we're also looking at the fact that he's trying to turn the people up against each other, which we do see some of that coming off in the U.S. I mean, social media is a cancer off of this. So let's see what some of the guard is here, because they're the ones that are allowed to have guns and nobody else is. Marco Rubio is tweeting out here, no one in Cuba has guns, but tonight heavily armed socialist shock troops are marching in Havana. Another one here, the socialist regime's repression, brigades and mobilizing in Cuba. And yep, we see the military trucks out there getting ready to take people back down if they do go back off here. Giancarlo Sopo, more Cuban special forces are being deployed. All right, so that's what we see coming back up out of Cuba. And really, honestly, I know a lot of white American college students going, "Oh, I love communism, and everybody else should just love communism." And if you only tried a little bit out here, no. I do like what the Daily Wire had to say here. Where's President Biden? Officials sound alarm as socialist shock troops deployed on Cuban protesters. It's really not Biden's place to come back and deal with what's happening in Cuba. It's not. He is the president of this nation. What they do over there in their nation, I mean, we can sit back here and criticize that because it's a human rights abuse. But we can't write policy for Cuba. The people there, the revolutionaries, put in the government that they wanted, or the government they thought they wanted. They're dealing with the consequences right now. And of course, we can always provide aid and shelter for them as they go. But I mean, for the most part, yeah, it's what the revolutionary Cubans wanted. So that is where we go from that. Let's come back in and see what you guys are saying. This will be a little bit interesting here because, yeah, the Great Wazoo is out here trying to shift the situation back away from Cuba and going into election fraud. Because he wants me to get banned on YouTube, apparently. Aimless Gamer is here. Hi, Aimless. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru is here. Which pretty girl, the red one or the green one? I don't know which green. Oh, Jessica Green. I should see if she wants to sit in for Elaine one night because she does seem to enjoy this. I'll reach out to her. I will point out the fact that she got a special request to sit in for the Red Ned show. I will mark that. All right, Sergeant Peterson apparently is always here. He just lurks. Well, thank you anyway for the view, Sergeant Peterson. You rock. Every time the media references the election hoax, they say the fraud is unproven. And while there's no evidence, there's so much evidence. No, there was no evidence. Nothing bad happened. Honk, honk. Wink, wink. Fanning says, I've got many Cuban-American friends. Cuba is cutting off the cell towers, and folks are freaked out, especially with the military turning on the people. Yeah, that's kind of interesting to come back and see. Godless regime. Yeah, there are a few of those around this world. You keep saying this, wink, wink, honk, honk, time for a new line. Well, that's what we do. After saying that he provided zero in terms of evidence. Well, there's no evidence to be had. The freest and most fairest election in history. Honk, honk. Quest Fanning says, why the pushback against authentication? Why against the audits? Do you ever converse? Yeah, I sit back and talk to the chat between topics. I always have. That's what we do. I don't do it in the morning show because it's headlines and go. But yeah, I sit back and have the conversation between topics here. Every time I'm here, you just read web pages that we can read ourselves. Well, you don't have to come back. That's the thing. You don't have to come back here. Nobody is telling you to come back here. And by the way, you are now blocked and reported. See, these little lefties out here, they keep doing the same thing over and over again. They think that they can just, if they don't get their way in chat, that they can come back and DM and do this. No. You're done. Quest Banning says, are people of color incapable of adulting and getting ID? Tell a black man that to his face, see what happens. Yeah, no. We're not going to do this election thing. Freest and most fairest election. Biden is the most popular president in history. Hong Kong. It is always Twitch. And Quest hits it right on the nose. The little lefties that come out here, that come out and say, I demand that you come out and you do what I say. And I come in your channel and do what I say. The people that continue to come out and do that, then yeah, they're not used to being censored. In fact, he just DM'd me and says, are you suppressing my speech? Are you any better than Cuba? Well, you're being a dick in my chat. And some of my mods should have actually come back and done that before me. But yeah, you're going to come back and you're going to do this, then yeah, you get a timeout. And if you come back and do it again, you're gone. When it's time to provide substance, nothing happens here on this channel. So yeah, you're gone. Test 2. What are you testing, Quest? Oh, did I ban the bot instead of him? I don't think so. Looks like everything is working. And let's go check the chat here. No, it doesn't look like anything is, everything should be working fine. If not, I'll go back and look. Aimless Gamer says it's always Twitch. 80s Kid is here, and he says, I never get tired of the Hong Kong line, and if I have to defend you with the reading webpages stuff, I don't come here to watch your show. I would never find out what's going on in the news. Although I don't always comment much, I always watch your shows to get the news because you cover so much. I don't want to do it all myself. You do it for us. I'm not seeing test or test 2 over here. Let me see if I can go double check that. Let me see. It does not look like any of the bots are banned. So, and yeah, at some point the ban, if you did mute somebody, the mute will expire at some point on the bot. So, but yeah, none of the robots are banned. All right, let's get back in here to the stream manager here. Let's keep going. A little bit on-air production, a little bit of fun here. All right. Anyway, we got a little bit more news here. Quest is not seeing test or test 2 over here. So I guess we'll have to go back and figure out what's going on there. I will do that. But yeah, that's Cuba here and our little bit of drama over here. We got a couple other things to get to on the end here. I want to talk a bit about this this door-to-door coronavirus jab thing, starting with the speech that was given out by Jen Psaki. So let's get this up here. Let's have a listen to what she has to say. And I'm going to get some of my thoughts onto this, and I'm going to quote my friend Seawall on some of this as well.
In more healthcare settings and respond to hotspots. The president will outline 5 areas his team is focused on to get more Americans vaccinated. 1, targeted community-by-community door-to-door outreach to get remaining Americans vaccinated by ensuring they have the information they need on how both safe and accessible the vaccine is. 2, a renewed emphasis on getting the vaccines to more primary care doctors and physicians, something that we've seen in more healthcare settings and respond to.
Yeah, and they're coming out and they say right out they're going to be going door to door. Now, to read from Real Clear Politics over here, Psaki announces new door-to-door vaccination campaign. Something that we listened to already here, but we'll probably go over it again. ABC News says our work is going to continue person by person, community by community, and we're going to meet people where they are, says Press Secretary Psaki to Karen Travers about the Biden admin's effort to encourage more Americans to get vaccinated. Let's see if this is a bit longer of a clip.
Couple of times on vaccines that the work continues across summer months after the July 4th holiday. Will we hear from the president today a new date that is the next target date to get to a certain percentage of Americans vaccinated? Is there a new timeline?
I don't expect a new goal to be set today. What I will tell you is that our work is going to continue person by person, community by community, and we're going to meet people where they are. That's what he's going to talk about, and he's going to continue to use resources from the federal government, empowering doctors, empowering key voices in communities, and that's what you'll hear him talk about today.
You said earlier about not changing minds. I think it was in response to a question. We had a poll out this weekend with the Washington Post that said 3 in 10 adults say they haven't gotten a coronavirus vaccine and definitely or probably will not get one. Does the White House have a sense of a number of how many persuadable people there actually are out there, and how do you target just them if you can try and convince some of them?
Well, Karen, I'd first say if you go back to even 5 or 6 months ago, that percentage of people who were not planning to get the vaccine was even much higher than that. And what we've seen have an impact is as people get vaccinated in their communities, they tell their neighbor, they tell their friend. Primary care physicians tell people who are coming to their doctor's office to get checkups. Pharmacists in communities are calling their neighbor.
Yeah, that just reminds me of a joke. And they are going to come back out and go door to door, and we'll talk about that in a second. But it does remind me of a joke that I heard a while ago. And I'm going to modify it for this here. But a CrossFitter, an ex-smoker, and a person who got the vaccine all walk into a bar. Who tells you about it first? But yes, I mean, some of the door-to-door thing has started too here. I mean, looking at Fox 6 Milwaukee here, door-to-door COVID vaccine effort in Milwaukee has already started, and they're going up and knocking up at the doors. They absolutely are. There's a new program to administer the COVID-19 vaccine to underserved communities in Milwaukee by going door-to-door. Meeting people where they are is how Milwaukee leaders plan to get more people vaccinated against the pinko fucking pox. The focus is on eliminating any barrier people in underserved communities may have. Many of the people knocking on the doors Wednesday, July 7th, grew up in the community or live in the community. They said the first step is to educate as they hopped off the school bus and started knocking on doors near 6th and Keefe. Yeah, you would have to be growing up in that community to go into that community willingly. Whoa, that's a rough neighborhood right there. within 21 days of being in operation, and with the addition of Milwaukee Health Department, as well as the fire department, we can't thank them enough, said Lorraine Leibt, president of the Jump at the Sun. We have been able to vaccinate 137 residents. And yeah, that's, I mean, Seawall said it best when he was doing Contemporary for me. Oh, was it Wednesday morning? Yeah, Wednesday morning. He came out and said it best. I mean, this is going to turn out into, and I mean, we already see where some members of the government, and I'm not going to name names, are coming out to try to push, if you don't get the vaccine, you're an anti-vaxxer and you're a second-class citizen. And what's the next step off of this? We sit here and say, hello, we are here to tell you about the wonders of the vaccine. Where are you hiding your unvaccinated? Are they in the attic? Are they under the floorboards? Let us see your unvaccinated people. I mean, we laugh at the accent off of this, but I mean, that's the situation we're in. It's come out and find the second-class citizens. I mean, this is even going so far as to see RT come out and say, ignore no soliciting signs. Tip for COVID-19 vaccine ambassadors resurface amid concerns over Biden's door-to-door push. Amid growing privacy concerns over the Biden admin's efforts to promote COVID-19 jabs among unvaccinated Americans, a document has resurfaced outlining helpful hints for the so-called health ambassadors. The toolkit, dubbed Door Knocking Project to Increase COVID Vaccine Acceptance, and a training video for the so-called health ambassadors were released by the Lake County, Illinois authorities. And I love the fact, number one, by the way, first off, that they're starting one story about where they're already going door-to-door, and the other story of how they're planning to go door-to-door in Milwaukee and also in Lake County, which is, if you're over in Kenosha, it's the first county over the state line into Illinois. It's actually where Kyle Rittenhouse is from, but he's further out west. Released by Lake County, Illinois authorities back in April, but only caught public attention this week after President Biden announced a shift towards taking the pro-vaccination message door-to-door. The document offers a list of various tips ranging from inform, don't convince, to knock and then back up and ignore no soliciting signs. So basically, we're getting the Jehovah's Witness of the pinko fucking pox jab, is where we're going with this by the end of it. Which, I mean, we knew we were going to get there at some point. And I love the fact that a lot of the liberals out here, they're going to be coming out and doing this, laughed outrightly at the Jehovah's Witnesses for the fact that they went door to door to go to try and spread their good news message. I mean, you might as well call the brochure and the pamphlet that they're going door to door with when they're ignoring no soliciting signs as, I don't know, the vaccine tower, the watch jab. There's been some pushback to this, obviously, of course. Reading from News 19 CBS, South Carolina governor pushes back against door-to-door vaccination education efforts. From Eleanor Tabone, President Joe Biden is pushing to get volunteers to knock on doors to help educate Americans about the commie fucking coup and ultimately get more Americans vaccinated. New state leaders across the country are pushing back, again, including South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. In an effort to step up vaccination efforts, President Biden on Tuesday said, come on, man, and now we need to go community by community, neighborhood by neighborhood, and oftentimes door to door. Literally knocking on doors, man, and get to help the remaining people protected from the virus. The remark came during a discussion about what it would take to reach millions of unvaccinated Americans. After pushback from Arizona and Missouri governors, the White House clarified the remarks on Friday, saying this is grassroots volunteers, this is members of the clergy. Oh, interestingly enough, the clergy, and we're going back and pushing fucking Watchtower again. These are volunteers who believe that people across the country, especially in low vaccinated areas, should have accurate information, should have information about where they can get vaccinated and where they can save their own lives and their neighbors' lives and their family members' lives. Governor Henry McMaster is not on board. In a statement, he said, a South Carolinian's decision to get vaccinated is a personal one. for them to make and not the government's. Enticing, coercing, intimidating, mandating, or pressuring anyone to take the vaccine is a bad policy, which will deteriorate the public's trust and confidence in the state's vaccination efforts. Look, by this point in the world, a large number of people have already been vaccinated. In fact, I would say almost the majority of the people who want the vaccine, probably 99% to 100% of the people who want the vaccine already have the vaccine. There are a few people who are going to get their information from the Gateway Pundit who say, no way am I ever putting that communist stuff in my arms. And the Daily Stormer will say, they're going to put that in my arm and it's going to turn me black. I mean, there are the people out there that do need to be informed and otherwise, but I mean, I'm 37 years old in relatively good health. There's no reason for me to get the jab, because I'm in a low risk category of dying from this. I mean, I did smoke for 20 years, but on top of that, there's very, very low risk of me ever getting the pinko pox. And, well, I mean, I'll probably get it, but it'll be such a mild cold that I won't even know that I had it. There's no reason for me to get that. And besides that, if I don't take it, then that frees that dose up for somebody who really, really wants it and thinks that the only way I can ever leave my house is if I get it. Wouldn't you rather that person have it, somebody you've already convinced? Why waste your vaccine on me who doesn't feel that I need it? I don't understand any of this, but you know, they're going to continue to come back out and try to do this and try to push this off of this. And Michelle Bachmann has kind of the same idea off of this here. Michelle Bachmann warns of the dangers of Biden's door-to-door vaccination push. Former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann told Watters World Saturday that the federal government wants Americans to check our Bill of Rights at the door when it comes to COVID vaccines. Let me see if there's video of this. There's not video of this. Except for this one. How long is this?
And former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann.
Oh, it's 2 minutes. We'll listen to this.
I have not seen you in a while. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you again. I can't wait to buy a copy of your new book.
Thank you. I'm shocked you haven't ordered it already, but I'm going to give you a pass, only because it's you.
Thank you.
So, door to door, they're coming. They got syringes. I don't think this is going to go too well, Michelle. What do you think?
Well, I'm glad that actually this is an issue, and I want to urge all the viewers to go out and buy no trespassing signs at the local hardware store.
Hold on a second. They're coming with the vaccine? I completely misunderstood this story. Holy shit. They're actually coming to give you the vaccine on your front porch. No. Nope, you are not going to do a medical procedure on my front fucking porch. Fuck you. No. I thought they were giving you the information in the watchtower to say, here's the blessing that you will receive once you get the vaccine. Here's the local place where you can go to get that. No. Nope. No. If you come to my door with a needle in your hand, I'm going to assume you're a fucking heroin addict. And considering I kicked one of those out of my house already once in my life, you're not going to be met with very, very friendly response if I think you're a heroin addict knocking on my door. Nope. No. No. Whoa. That is not going to end well for a lot of people. Holy shit, I thought it was just the watchtower of vaccination. Holy shit, that's terrifying.
Or no solicitor signs, affix them to your front doors and put them right out by your front stoop, end of the driveway, because the government has zero business to do this, zero right. And what they're wanting all of us to do is to check our Bill of Rights, our civil liberties at the door. And it's amazing. All of America is based upon the fact that we have rights against the government. And they want us, just as a matter of idea, just give up all of our first 10 Bill of Rights, our civil liberties, and say, we'll take it from here. We're the federal government, because don't let anybody suffer any.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're seeing off this too. And of course, what are the scariest words in existence? I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So, yeah, if like I said, if that's what they're doing, if they are coming out and giving you the jab on your front step, nope, I'm out. Get off my fucking lawn. Because that is not happening. I'm telling you that right now. All right, let's see what you guys are saying here. We got just a couple more things to do. We might stick... what do we have left? Yeah, let's do both of these. Let's see what you guys are saying first. Well, you know what? No, let's not. I will save all the live chat till the end here. Let's go through these other two ones here quick. So let's talk just a bit about this run for school board plan out here because, you know, I've been saying this for a long time. And this is one of my big critiques with the Libertarian Party as well. And I know that Elaine and I have had this argument time and time again. We've done it on air, we've done it off air, where the Libertarians are coming from when they're coming in nonpartisan races. But, I mean, your locality starts, and that's where we need to go to start liberty, to take the chance to come back and take this away from the federal government. To read from NBC News, though, QAnon's new plan, run for school board. Drake Wirtz came to the school board meeting in Seminole County, Florida in late June with a message familiar to those who had heard him speak at previous meetings. Americans' children are at risk of systemic abuse, and the way to stop it is to run for local office. They're being carried away through our education system, through the woke ideology that's infiltrated professional sports, through the sexual grooming and pedophilia that's apparent in the entertainment industry. Wirtz 36 said in a video of the Seminole County School Board meeting posted by the district's YouTube account. We need to run for precinct committees, we need to run for city council, run for school board, and primary the rhinos in this room, he said, using the acronym for Republicans in name only. It was the kind of claim he'd made before, touching on a wide variety of fringe theories about sex trafficking, including the false conspiracy theory that mask mandates make it easier for sex traffickers to target our kids in our community. On his social media profiles last month, Wirtz posted pictures of Michael Flynn, the former general and national security advisor, and the Great Awakening, all hallmarks of the fringe QAnon conspiracy theory. But, like many people who have trafficked in QAnon material, Wirtz has begun to distance himself from the movement. I can tell you that 100% don't subscribe to Q theories. Q theories hurt the mission of fighting sex trafficking and bring negative attention, Wirtz said in an interview. Wirtz also denied making comments in the most recent school board meeting about masks being used by child traffickers and declined further comment. So there's a lot of stuff to unpack with this. This is a fairly big thing. Now, they use, of course, one example of a guy who is a former Q guy who's coming up and saying, well, they say that we need to go run for more offices, so I'm going to go run for my local school board. Well, good. Good. That's what you need to be doing, by the way. If you're coming in, and yes, I know everybody wants to go run for the presidency because we've been told from our childhood that the president's the most powerful human being in the world and everything begins and ends with the president of the United States. We've been told that forever. But I'm here to tell you that that's just simply not true. The presidency is just an office and he's nothing but a law enforcement officer. But if you really want to affect real change, whether you're a QAnon guy, whether you're just a moderate person, if you are a libertarian, if you're a federalist, hell, if you're a regular Democrat here, a lot of these seats on lower levels, and I don't know if this is the way that it is in like New York City. I know that my friend Quest lives in the city. I'm not going to say where in the city, but I mean, New York City is a pretty big place. And I know that I've got people here from California, various. I don't know if this is another problem in other parts of the country, but I know here in Wisconsin, every district that I've lived in Wisconsin, whether it be northern Wisconsin or down in Kenosha, or even here in Redacted where I live now, a lot of these lower seats are running unopposed. Your school board. I go down the list. Okay, here's your president. Evil person 1, evil person 2. And third party candidate 3, 4, and 5 that'll never make it past anything. Who do I vote for? Representative. evil person 1, evil person 2. One of them is an incumbent. Okay, I take that. Senator, evil person 1, evil person 2. And then, yeah, that's fine, but then we get down the board. School board, county commissioner, county treasurer, city treasurer, mayor, alderman, city councilman. Most of these seats are sitting here with one name by there. One name and write-in. And I've often said that, I mean, every one of these seats should be challenged, at the very least, an opposite party runner, but then also get 3 or 4 or 5 different people primarying some of these seats. The best ideas will rise to the top, and the worst ideas will sink to the bottom. Now, do I think that this QAnon guy will probably get to the top, especially if he's out on the school board meetings spreading QAnon theories? No, I don't think he's going to rise to the top of that, but he should take the chance, because it's going to force the people who are incumbent to that seat to steal their values against the arguments that the guy is going to bring. Because he is going to do his homework and bring some arguments. And I want to see the debates. I want to see the arguments. Rather than just, oh, well, I've been sitting on the school board for 25 fucking terms. Vote for me again, because nobody else will run against me. That's what we need to continue to do here. So, with that, we'll continue to go with this here. And yeah, and there, of course, if people are going to start upsetting the balance, because the majority of the people who are sitting on these school boards, they're community organizers. They are progressives. They are what Barack Obama was right before he became the president. I'm sorry, one step before he became the president, because he was community organizer, senator for a third of a term, and then president, Barack Obama. So yeah, start primarying some of these lower seats. And yeah, you're going to get hit pieces run about you, because you're standing up against the progressives that has just sit in these seats because they're community organizers and nobody will come back and run against them. So yeah, let's start doing that. Okay, I've gotten aside here because we do have to sit back and do the San Francisco Gay Choir thing here. But just on a brief aside here, one thing that I do want to sit back and point out is the fact that I told the story in my impromptu live stream on Sunday night about what happened when my kitchen caught fire. Now, there's a smoke alarm in the hallway that is linked to the police station and the fire department. Whereas when that goes off, that's supposed to kick everybody right back into immediate action to go respond to the fire, because this is an 8-unit building. And up until a few weeks ago, there were small children in this 8-unit building. This is a building where people could be put into great danger if there is an actual fire. And I said this on my live stream. After the alarm went out, and I think the upstairs neighbor too, she called as well. But after the fire went out, after everything was out and had been out for a good 5 to 10 minutes, the doors were open. We were already starting to vent smoke back out of the apartment. We didn't need to have the police department here for any reason whatsoever. But, after everything was out, everything was all said and done and gone, then we're suddenly sitting here with 10 minutes later, the police show up. And they're only coming 4 blocks, by the way. So the police show up 10 minutes later to come out, take a statement. And I do understand the fact that he called ahead and said, you don't have to hurry, the fire's out, to the fire department. But regardless of that, it does not take 20 minutes to get from one side of the town to the other. And if it does, in those 20 minutes, there could have been a lot worse carnage. If I'd have been incapacitated for whatever reason. And you know what I looked at when I said that? I said, I'm not going to blame the fire department because they are coming all the way across town. A little bit of blame for the police department because they're not coming from that far. But I'm going to run for mayor because I want to see what I can do to get response times down. Because the majority of the population at this point, I'm sure when the city of Redacted that I live in now, I'm sure that when this was built and started, the majority of people lived on that end of town where the fire department is. But now the majority of the people, especially the people coming in with money, are coming up and living on this end of town where I live. The vast majority of us are over on this end of town, and a lot of the commercial stuff is on the other end. So yeah, I want to sit down, run for mayor, and see what it is that I can do to help get some of these response times down. I don't know. Do we have a substation over on this side, or keep one truck in the municipal building where we can get a guy on there? So at least he can show up and assess the situation. Not necessarily be the entire fighting force, but get somebody on site where he can assess the situation and say, okay, is somebody going to die? Or is somebody, is it just an automated call because the hallway alarm went off? I don't know. But that's what I'm seeing from this. We got one more here to go over here, and this is this song that the San Francisco Gay Choir put out. Now, before I get into this, I do want to point one thing out. And yeah, we'll see how long this lasts up on YouTube after I get bumped for copyright. But I want to point out before I go into this that I sat back and listened to this again, and I went back and listened to Stephen Ignoramus playing this on Contemporary the other morning, thinking, okay, maybe they just stealth edited this. No, this is actually what into this. This is not as bad as the right wing made this sound. It's not good, don't get me wrong, but this is not the be-all, end-all that the right wing nut jobs, like my dear friend Stephen Ignoramus, made this out to be. So let's listen to at least a little bit of this song, and then we'll comment on this a little bit and some of the stuff that came out of this. Then we'll do live chat and head out of here for the day.
As we celebrate Pride and the progress we've made over these past years, there's still work to be done. So to those of you out there who are still working against equal rights, we have a message for you.
You think we're sinful? You fight against our rights. You say we all lead lives you can't respect. But you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice.
So, I mean, right there from that point off of this, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of the right-wing crowd stopped listening at this point, too, because they heard that and they said, they're going to make our kids gay, what are we going to do? Let's listen to just a little bit more off of this, and we'll go from there.
You can keep him from disco. Warn about San Francisco. Make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We'll make them tolerant and fair.
At first I didn't get why you'd be so scared of us turning your children into accepting, caring people, but I see now why you'd have a problem with that.
Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protest. Oh, and you'll be disgusted so gross when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight, like information. Guess what? You'll still be alright. We'll convert your children, yes we will. Reaching one and all, there's really no escaping it. 'Cause even grandma likes RuPaul. And the world's getting kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grindr. Learn to love, learn to vogue, face your fate. We'll convert your children. Someone's gotta teach them not to hate. We're coming for.
My favorite part of this was when Stephen was doing this, when he counted all the people on here and said, Alex Jones is right. They're multiplying. There's 81 of them now, and there were 2. So the base message of this song, it's not that they're going to try to make your kids gay, in spite of the fact that, they said that Gen Z is gayer than Grindr. I do understand where some of the problem is with that. But the song is about making the children tolerant to the gay lifestyle. Okay. Here's the big part of this, and this is the part of the problem that I have with this. Leave the kids alone. When they come out in the world, they can make their decisions about who they like, who their friends are, the lifestyles that they accept. You can make your pitch, but leave the fucking kids alone. Let them be innocent. Let them be kids. And I'm not telling parents either to come out here and say, oh, well, Well, you go tell that F word, and I'm not going to say that on YouTube, obviously, but you go tell that F word that they ain't welcome here no more. Yeah, we're going to see some of that, and those parents should also allow their kids to be kids and be innocent about this. Learn what they can, learn what they want. Teach them the values that you want to see in them. But no, this is not about making your kids gay. This is about making your kids accepting of other people's lifestyles, which they should be. I mean, for the most part, we shouldn't care. And I mentioned before on the transgender thing with Caitlyn Jenner. I don't care how you pee. I also don't care who you fuck. But leave the kids out of it. And then, of course, the San Francisco Gay Choir comes out. Oh, well, this was all a joke. And you'll notice here that we don't have a like and dislike count on this either, because I'm sure they got rid of that because they got massively fucking ratioed. I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't turned the comments off on this yet. And I like this one here. Just like that, victim status is revoked. So you're telling me this started with, we want equal marriage, And a lot of this came off because, shut up, you. A lot of this came out of the fact that, what's the first thing we hear when a group of gay men come back out and say, we're coming after children? Fire up the wood chipper! Fire, that joke. I don't know what that was. That's our death threat. They're going to put us in the wood chipper off of this. Fucking spare me. Let's read what Fox News has to say, though. San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus faces backlash for We're Coming for Your Children video. The group defended itself, calling the video tongue-in-cheek humor. No, you're running and hiding behind that right now because you got your shit shoved in, and not in the way that you guys like, by the way. But you came in and you got your shit shoved in for the fact that you came out with the message of, we're coming for your children. The San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus is facing a wave of backlash after offering up what it described as ironic humor about fears surrounding children and the gay agenda. The backlash came after the chorus posted a video in which members sang about indoctrinating children into being more concerned about fairness and justice. I have no problem with fairness and justice, but leave the kids out of it. Let the parents raise the kids, not the TV, not the YouTube, and not the San Francisco Gay Choir. You think you will corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked, one of the members sings. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep them from disco, warn about San Francisco, make them wear pleated pants, we don't care, we'll convert your children, we'll make them tolerant and fair. Later the lyrics continue, we'll convert your children, someone's got to teach them not to hate, we're coming for them, we're coming for your children, we're coming for them, we're coming for them, we're coming for your children. Your children will care about, the chorus adds, fairness and justice. For others, your children will work to convert their sisters and brothers. Then soon, we're almost certain your kids will start converting you. The gay agenda is coming home, the gay agenda is here. But you don't have to worry because there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. The video received plenty of pushback from conservatives. Man, this sure sounds like a cult, doesn't it? Yeah, there's that end of it too. An article for Not the Be read, this is grotesque and unacceptable, tweeted Bridget Gabriel for ACT for America. So, and I mean with that, they deserve the pushback. San Francisco Gay Men's Choir sticks by controversial song in the face of death threats, which once again I'm sure was a lot of the jokes. A lot of the tongue-in-cheek stuff about the wood chipper. TMZ reports the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus is not backing down from a controversial song in the wake of what they claim is a wave of death threats coming their way. Here's the deal. The SFGMC recently posted about a song across social media where they're satirically saying, we'll convert your children, but they say it's being taken out of context and they're getting lots of hateful backlash, including violent threats. The chorus is laying the blame on far-right conservative media, claiming the song's tongue-in-cheek humor is being lost on folks instead of used to support a narrative that suits their intolerant and hateful needs. Their intent with the convert line is a double entendre. When you hear the full song, they're saying they'll convert your children, not to hate. And yeah, I mean, I picked up on that right away. But regardless, leave the kids out of it. Leave the kids out of it. That's the problem that I have with this. Leave the fucking kids out of it. But with that, I think that's all that I have here because, I mean, news now is saying Gay Men's Choir blames QAnon for its own sick song, which is the same thing we saw from the TMZ article. But that's... When you come out with a song where you say, we're coming for your children, then expect a little bit of pushback. Because parents will protect their children above all else. And not just their children. I know that I feel the same bond with my nieces and nephew, that I will protect them from the evils of the world if I have to. Family is everything. And I would sooner die than let my nieces and nephew see one little bit of evil coming to them. That's what I have for the news. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's head on out of here. A little bit of stuff here. Aimless Gamer says, as a good Twitch user, I only get my news from the Young Turks. 80s Kid says, Aimless Gamer, yes, young turds are so believable. Honk. They're their most believable news source on the internet. Honk, honk. Aimless Gamer's out of here. Just wanted to say hi. 80s Kid said, my daughter's friend went to work upset the other day. She said her daughter's had the vax. Next day she had a stroke. She's only 18, but they will probably say it's not related, just a coincidence. Yep, totally unrelated, just a coincidence. Nothing bad happened here, honk honk. The vaccine is totally safe. Don't look over here at some of the correlation that's going on. Let's see, a lot of the Nightbot here. Ron Helton is out of here. He has to go mow. Thanks for sticking around, hanging out with us, Ron Helton. Do you want to become famous? Buy followers, primes, and viewers on kutt.it, RCJTSB. That sounds like a completely legitimate link. Let's go click on that one. That one would be completely legitimate. We want more followers, right? Some of you guys should buy a prime at some point. I think that would be cool of you. You don't have to, it's not required, but one of you guys should. I just want to see what happens when I see it. 80s Kid says, I've seen the door-to-door vax YouTube videos. I read some of the comments. One was, me and my two cousins, Smith and Wesson, and said, say hello to my little friend. So we can guess how people feel about this. Yeah, they don't care for that. And I don't either. Like I said, if it was just the Watchtower, I'd at least hear them out. I'm not going to change my mind over some guy standing at my door with the Watchtower. I haven't done it for the Jehovah's Witnesses, so I'm not going to do it for the fucking Pinko Pox jab. But I'll at least hear you out. But if you're going to come up to my door with a needle, yes, expect backlash. Expect backlash. I don't know if that thing is filled with poison, air. I don't know what credentials you have. I don't know if that's fucking heroin. Let's see. Jay Miles says, young philosopher on Twitch gives his take on critical race theory. Pretty profound stuff. I am not going to take the link out of this on air. I'll run it through a antivirus to go check on it to make sure it's not spyware off of this, because you can come back and mask everything. That's just the reason I don't let links go back in. But yeah, if we want to go put this on the Discord, you can join the Discord. You can always join the Discord if you want to get links out of here, because I do have links blocked in chat. So sorry about that. If you want to go back on the Discord and discuss it, the Discord is open. And mods, by the way, if you do see stuff like that where a guy gets muted like that for posting a link, because I think you guys can still see the link, direct them to the Discord. Always direct people to the Discord if they can't share a link off of this. Or if you see something message deleted by the mod. Or the Nightbot comes in and says, stop posting links, and it seems to be a legitimate person. Always direct them to the Discord. Always, always, always direct them to the Discord. Or we can have more conversation about this. Fanning says, I love the work Yale does with Operation Win at the door. Very efficient at electing folks to statewide office. I'll have to look into that. Well-vetted Liberty candidates at that. Well, I don't qualify for that because I'm not a libertarian. Nephilim Ninja says, "The roads, bro. Run on the roads as a libertarian, please." I can't do that. It's probably going to be, I think the mayor's office is going to be a nonpartisan race anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. Phenomena. Stephen, the right-wing nutjob. I love you, Stephen. Stephen is like my best friend, but he's way out there on right field, and I still love him for that. We'll convert your children. Shoot it now. Thanks, Phenomena. Quest Fanning says, my phone just died before I could make my in living color firefighter Ed joke. It's up again, but now I'm sleepy. Have a good one. Have a good night, Fanning. And that's going to be it. Let's get out of here. It's been a long show, and I've been talking for 2 hours and 17 minutes. I think it's time. With 7 people watching up at the end. I know Elaine always complains because we get the burst of her audience at the beginning of the show, and my audience sticks around for the end of it. So you guys are the true champs. You all rock. Let's get out of here. Let's go. All right, thanks everybody who came by and chatted, kept me honest in the live chat here. The detractors, the good guys, the bad guys, the people that hate me, the people that love me, you're all welcome here. I know that sometimes we get in a fight and I'll ban people, but you can come in and do the stuff here. But if you're just gonna try to steer the conversation away from where the news is going, then yeah, we're gonna give you the mute. It's just a timeout, but if you go push the issue, you're out of here. I have no patience for you going back to try and DM and push the issue. I have no patience for that. But still, come and hang out. If you can have the civil conversation, then do it. But stay on topic and stay with us as we go. Hong Kong. Biden's the most popular president in history. Hong Kong. All right, and with that, I'm going to head out of here for the night. I will be back here tomorrow morning for more contemporary as we go over news headlines, and I don't do much with the chat, but still come back and hang out and do the support because everybody in the chat here is going to come back and hang out and talk with you as well. So come back. That is at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Hopefully we'll be back on time and I won't start another fucking fire in the kitchen. So we'll have something prepped and ready to go. So definitely looking forward to that as well. I got a couple articles up here that I'm actually looking really forward to reading. So definitely come back and hang out with me over here for that. Otherwise, check us out if you're just catching us back up live. We'll be back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Go check us out on both of those platforms, linked into the description of most platforms as well. You can go back and hang out there and go check out great archives. You can go check out some of our past shows and some of the solo videos that I've done. So go and hang out with that. Otherwise, you can go check out my friends, the Freckles of Brit Show, the Daily Ignoramus, the Generational Gap, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and the R-Rated Conservative, all coming up on a new project that I can't really come out and announce yet, but you guys all know something's happening here. So watch the Discord and watch the Twitter to see if anything else is coming back up. And as always, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Everybody take care, have a great night, and we will see you next time.